while we took care of some last moment things here at Village Hall. Welcome to our January 28th workshop. We have an agenda full of really great and engaging topics. But we certainly cannot start the meeting without first recognizing Robert Downey, as everyone knows him as Bugsy, who's our roadways and facilities crew chief. I would like to recognize him for a few things. One is his pre-planning for this storm, lining up contractors to have at the ready, knowing that it was going to be so much snow and would take us a very long time to clean out a zone, having them lined up, and also coordinating with the county to have county help. I'm really proud of the job he did. And I know it's hard to wait, it's hard to be patient, but they're going as fast as they possibly can. And I appreciate all of the hours that have been spent. So to Bugsy and his crew, I say thank you. Thank you also to Mark's Landscaping, Minardi Excavating, and Sal Padella and Sons for helping us out. And your trucks, your big fancy shiny trucks, are just the jealousy of our crew. So thanks a lot on that one.
Bugs does it all without coffee as well.
And it does it all without coffee, which is astonishing. Yeah. Okay. So we'll call the meeting to order and ask the clerk for a roll call, please.
Okay. Trustee Hall.
Yeah.
Trustee Bosey.
Here.
Trustee Bardis.
Here.
Trustee or Deputy Mayor Woods.
Here.
And Mayor Foley.
Okay. First announcements. Royal Casella, I'm still having a hard time saying it together. Royal Casella did come through the village today and pick up what Christmas trees they could find that were out. Some of them have been covered by snow. They will not be doing any further particular Christmas tree runs for composting, but they will, if yours didn't get picked up, they will take it with the garbage on any Thursday that you put it out. Garbage and recycling are on schedule as usual, Thursday for garbage, Friday for recycling. Put them out the night before.
Kathleen just said they'd put it out with any garbage on Thursday. Or is it with recycling on a Thursday? Garbage
I'm sorry, I mean for pickup on Thursday. Out with your garbage for pickup on Thursday. Any other announcements? No? None from the clerk? Okay, opportunity to add to or modify the agenda. I have no modifications. Anyone else? Great. So coming up to the STAR Act tonight, with us is Dr. Duffy, the superintendent at Haldane, and Dr. Clements, who's the president of the school board, and Megan Shields from the administrative office. I met with them, gosh, probably Thanksgiving time, to have an initial conversation about what they want to present about tonight. I think we all know that traffic movement at Haldane is tough. We have an interaction of pedestrians and cars on the campus, off the campus, and folks have been thinking for a long time about how to try to make that better and safer. So Haldane has a proposal for us. They have some asks of us. Tonight is the initial conversation. It may be that we need to have further discussion after tonight, and particularly coordinating with the officer in charge, Matt Jackson, is on the call. I'm sure we're going to need to do specific coordinating from him, but the introduction to this will be great for everyone tonight. So please.
Am I asking to share, or is that what you need to share?
And we can turn that, you're welcome to sit if you don't want to stand, whatever you prefer.
Stand. I don't need that, I'm good there, yeah.
We'll get the camera moved for you.
So as Megan is pulling up the presentation, I do want to take a moment. I think this last snowstorm is an example of how it does take a village, and I'm just always grateful for the partnership that the district has with the village. As we were navigating how to clear the snow off our campus, working very closely with the village and everyone in terms of just how to make things as safe as possible when we can open as soon as possible. So just grateful for everyone's help there. And we had our first day of remote learning yesterday. When that went okay, I think overall kids had an okay time. And we will use that when we run out of snow days, which we have for the school year already. So hopefully we have mild weather the rest of the school year, but I can't control.
Now you've said it out loud.
I did. I'm trying to bring in some positive vibes. But anyway, thank you all for your help with the snow removal.
Thank you.
So as Kathleen mentioned, we're just here tonight to talk a little bit about our traffic pilot. And as the new superintendent, safety and security is probably my biggest priority when I think about my role leading the district. And I do think this pilot will answer some of the questions that maybe we've had over the years in terms of how can we make traffic and safety and security a little bit better during drop off and pickup. So if we go on to the next slide, just by way of backgrounds.
Oh, not the arrow, and not the space.
Oh, MacBooks are a little different. Oh, there we go. Okay. So just as a reminder to the community, so we are at the beginning of our capital project. This was something that the voters and community approved back in November of 2024 for $28 million. So a nice sum for some really much needed work in the community or on the campus. And so as a reminder, the project includes a couple of things. Looking at the high school, adding an addition, which would have a multi-purpose student center, a STEAM lab, a student support suite, additional classrooms that would replace the classroom instruction that we have going on right now in Mabel Merritt. Also renovations to our elementary and middle school with a student support suite, a STEAM lab, and enhancing some of our offices, and then much needed infrastructure and security enhancements across both buildings. We're hoping to break ground on that capital project in the spring. It's interesting to note, while the architects were developing the plans, they did note that Haldane has an unhealthy mix of car, bus, and pedestrian traffic. And so this is no surprise if you've come on campus, but we do have cars and buses and students and staff kind of walking all at the same time. And so this pilot is helping to reduce that where we can. Next slide, thank you. So we also had recently a transportation audit done for the district by BOCES, and the goal with this audit was to really identify what's working efficiently and well within transportation, and then how can we look at our bus routes, our schedules, and our resources. How might we have to allocate them in different ways? That transportation consultant also noted and recommended where can we separate car and bus traffic. So it's come up twice with two big consultants that we've been working with. So what we're proposing to do in April is have a traffic pilot where we're actually implementing the recommended traffic pattern changes to buses and cars. This would begin hopefully the week of April 13th. And what's really important, and this is where the community can also give us feedback, we're hoping to use the results of the pilot to inform our capital project site work. So the site work has not started yet. The hope would be to do this pilot, get a sense of roadway changes we might have to look at, where buses are going to be staged, sidewalks, and also access to the campus. And so everyone will have an opportunity to provide some feedback to us as we do this pilot. So these next two slides try to visualize what we're looking to do. So this would be a new traffic pattern for buses. And I'll take a minute to say we know with change is hard. And so it is going to take a little bit of time for our school community to get the hang for some of what we're proposing. And that's why it's a pilot to see what's working and what's not working. So what you see on this slide is a new traffic pattern for buses. So what we're proposing during this pilot is that only buses will enter campus via Route 9D. And so if I get my bearings here, buses would be coming up through 9D, going up Craigside Drive, stopping first at the flagpole to drop off elementary and middle school students. And then if it's a high school bus, still coming in through 9D, Craigside Drive, going up to high school, and then coming back the way they came in. So this is the proposed piece for buses. This is new. Right now we have buses that come up this way, and we also have buses that come up that we'll show on the next slide. So this would be buses only entering through Route 9D. And then new traffic pattern for cars. This one will be a little more tricky for the community. During arrival in the Smithville, families will only be permitted to enter the back of campus via Cedar Street. So coming up through here, and then coming down what we're calling Spaghetti Hill and stopping in front of the playground sidewalks here, dropping students off. So again, coming in Cedar, coming down in front of the playground sidewalks here, and then exiting the campus, upper side Craigside Drive to Mountain Avenue. So coming down again, down to Mountain, and then you'll see there's 3 different ways out: Fishkill Avenue, Orchard Street, or Locust Ridge. So different change, because right now our cars, if we go back, can we go back one slide? Maybe. Basically, our cars come through 9.
Right now, our cars are coming in where the X is, where the red X is.
Right. And like what's happening, and if you've been on campus, you've seen this, and everyone is doing the very best they can. We have buses being dropped off, we have cars being dropped off, we have students walking from Mabel Merritt or the high school down to the main building, depending upon their class. And so we're mixing a lot of students and staff walking while cars and buses are also coming in or leaving at the same time. And again, everyone's doing their very best they can, but when we think about our capital project and we think about safety and security, and it's been recommended by 2 different consultants, it's time to try this pilot to get feedback on what possible changes might we have to tweak when we get to the actual capital project.
In this portion, in the new car pattern, do you actually call it Spaghetti Road?
We do, but that's probably not like the actual.
The gentleman that conducted the transportation audit kept referring to it as that.
So where does the drop off happen if kids are getting dropped off by car? Where's that?
Right where the 2 little people are
Right.
on the playground blacktop.
So if you come up here, this is like district office right now in Mabel Merritt. It's this road that right now is a one-way going the opposite direction. So people go up, cars would come up Cedar, down that one-way road that would become one-way going down, and then pulling right in front of the playground here. So really, cars are only on one small portion of the whole campus, where right now they're all, if that makes sense.
May I interject?
Yeah, please,
For just a
please.
second? So there's actually really a long history of the concern about how cars access the road. So I want to go back to, it was actually the year of the Marjorie Douglas school shooting. I don't know, 10 years, I think, almost. And understandably, it really engendered a lot of interest in the community about Haldane. I was on the board then, how Haldane was handling school security at the time. And at the time, our safety committee was much more wide open. Basically, anybody could come to these meetings. And at that meeting, there were probably 5 or 6 first responders, including the fire department chiefs, and they really noted that with the traffic, so many cars that go up Craigside Drive, it really that's another potential danger spot, that because the traffic on Craigside Drive, you can have dozens of cars on that road, and it's very narrow, that if there were to be an emergency, it would be very difficult. It would impede first responders accessing the campus. So yes, we've had these 2, very skilled groups of people take a very careful look at what's happening on the campus. But this is something that many people in the community have also really noticed as an issue, and that the district and the board has been aware of for a while, which is one of the reasons, one of the instigators for the campus master plan, understanding that it was one of multiple issues that really did need to be addressed.
No, thank you for that. Yep.
Do you have numbers on the numbers of buses and cars that enter and exit the school on a daily basis, and what proportion of cars go up Craigside versus Cedar Street currently?
So we do have, as part of our, and I can share that with the village board when I get back to the office tomorrow, the transportation study that we just had done that is on our website. We did just a quick snapshot of a couple days in a row, number of cars, and I don't remember offhand.
200.
Was it about 200? Okay.
200 in the morning and 200 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
400 car trips total a day onto campus.
At both entrances, or one entrance?
Well, primarily the main building and then up to the high school. So primarily, because right now that's where the volume of cars are coming in. Currently the back entrance currently is high school staff.
Yeah.
The seniors who are going to their lot, but we also, for years and years, have tried to discourage parents from dropping off that way, but they really do still drop off. So then what we have is like parents coming in the back way, doing a drop off, and then skating around the buses. So that's kind of even messier.
Coming back out on Lower Craigside.
Yeah, coming back out on Upper Craigside, so they're kind of like scooting past. Yeah, so it's very messy on the top. part of campus right now. And then as Peggy said, the lower Craigside is just, that big long snake of parents trying to drop. Yeah.
And how many buses morning and afternoons, roughly?
We probably have, I don't know for sure, 6 or 7
6 or
buses. I
7,
think.
and then smaller
Yeah.
buses coming from different districts and things. And then if we're having a sports trip, go out before elementary dismisses. So it's quite busy at those 2 times, the morning and afternoon.
So as pieces of the capital project, which is also on our website, there are areas where they've identified that we would create more bus staging areas kind of in that flagpole circle. So there are anticipated to be some actual roadway revisions.
Yeah.
Depending on how things go with this pilot.
Couple things, for Craigside Drive, that's quite narrow. I'm just thinking about just what it's like when I pick up or drop off and there's 2 cars coming, we're both kind of like, meh,
Upper?
lower.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's what you're considering for the bus traffic, correct? The lower portion to go up?
Mhm.
Can you have 2 buses going opposite directions on that road at the same
In
time?
that space.
Yes.
And
Right.
you wouldn't really need it, 2 buses going, you wouldn't really necessarily have the buses passing each other on that road because they'd all be up at the circle, picking up, picking up,
And then all
and then all leaving
Around the
at
same time, yeah,
Got
yeah.
it.
Unless a bus is late or something, but for the most part, they'd be following each other up, whipping back around and coming back down.
Generally, they're all, yeah.
And then, as a, when I get lazy and I drop off with the car, the parking where the visitor parking and all that, so would cars would no longer have access to that parking?
In the
lot?
Bell lot?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there really is only, I think, 1 or 2 visitor spots there as it is.
Oh, yeah,
So,
well,
yeah.
I mean, we all know what happened.
Yeah,
like,
Yeah, but I guess it was never intended to be really like a drop-off
Right.
location.
Right.
That's mostly staff parking.
So then the next question is, where would the sheriff be with?
I would imagine where the students are,
Mhm.
so more toward the
So
blacktop.
okay,
Yes,
on the blacktop
absolutely.
side. So you would pull around and he would still be there to.
Valet your kids.
Yeah. We need Officer Tully out each and every day. He is the face of the district as families are being dropped off.
Yeah, we would anticipate he'd be where the walkers / drop-off are, yeah.
Okay.
I think Officer Jackson would like to.
Oh, sorry, didn't see your hand.
That's all right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry about that, Matt. I didn't see your hand.
No, that's okay. I'm just looking at the map you got here with the routing of the traffic. You got vehicles coming in Cedar Street, and then you got vehicles exiting Locust Ridge, Orchard, and Fishkill. So you said you have data for the amount of cars, the amount of vehicle traffic that are coming to the school on a daily basis?
Yes.
Okay. Because I'm just looking at this little map and we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, a couple of these are one way, but all these streets are blocked by traffic in the event there was an emergency to get to the school. That's not including Craigside Drive.
So are you proposing that people should be encouraged on one street so that the others remain open, like encourage on Orchard so that Fishkill is open, Fishkill and Mountain are open?
Something like that.
Okay.
Because I'm just looking, you could see all the cars where they are. And it all looks like they're all coming in one way, but they're exiting 1, 2, 3 different ways. And that's just, you're congesting 4 streets. B Street, I'm not even driving on B Street, so
We didn't even
I'm not
touch
worried.
that yet.
Yeah, I'm not even worried about that one.
Yeah.
But the only emergency access to the school would be Fishkill Avenue, Orchard, and Cedar.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's a good point. We were looking at it as like more exit points to really move people out faster, but that's a good point.
Right. Yeah, that's something that definitely you should consider just because, God forbid something goes on. It doesn't matter what it is. If an emergency vehicle has to get there, how are they going to get there? We don't have that in this little diagram. We don't see that on this little diagram. Where's that going to be?
A good thing for us to do more follow-up
Mm-hmm.
planning conversations about.
Yeah.
Another thing that I think is a deeper conversation for another time is the location of the crossing guard.
Right, and that's on one of our
I
slides coming.
wondered if there was a little more breathing room at Orchard as a potential location for the guard.
So that will be, because that's a state road, 301 is a state road, adding a crosswalk there is something that requires DOT
A bigger
permits.
endeavor.
It's a big one. I mean, I don't know how they would look at a pilot. And that's one of the conversations that we'll need to have, is letting them know that we're running this pilot and we're, what are their concerns about us using that area? And that's one of the reasons that Matt and I were talking earlier about how important it's going to be to have officers positioned with their eyes on the cars, crossing guards with eyes on the children,
Right.
officers with eyes on cars.
And our hope was to come tonight. We have just a couple more slides if you want to go to the next one.
Can I
But then
just-
to also have an additional planning meeting
Yeah, great.
prior with, with every officer, whoever else needs to be involved, so
Great.
that we're making sure we're having all bases covered.
Can I
Go ahead.
say something? Matt, vis-a-vis what you were saying, there's also the volunteer ambulance corps up there too. So I think they should be involved in terms of their
For sure.
ability
I know
to.
you've been talking with them,
Oh, okay.
but getting a coordinated conversation will
Yes.
be a good thing. Also,
Yeah,
I just.
That's another thing to consider is the ambulance corps. We're nobody knows right now what this is going to look like once it happens. We're going to have to talk about this a little bit more. We're going to have to look at everything from all different points of views. But if we have one-way traffic coming in from Cedar, that's blocking the ambulance corps. If there is a delay with the people picking up the students, it takes a little bit of time, especially with younger kids. And there's going to be people who arrive early. How much of that street is going to be congested? Where are we going to be able to put those cars? Is there a certain time that they are allowed to enter the campus in order to pick their children up? Those are things that we need to think about in addition to that. So that way we got to keep traffic flowing. We can't have a stop, the traffic stopping on any of those roads for an extended period of time. For whatever reason, emergencies or just the free flow of traffic, we can't obstruct that in that whole plan there.
Which I think is what we face on 9D now,
Well,
particularly with the light.
I was gonna say, I
Yeah.
live on Locust
Yes.
Ridge, and all the things that Matt is describing happen now. Because the buses and the cars and the ambulances are all on the same route. I mean, now on snow days, it's really difficult.
Right.
But there have been, times when the ambulances are trying to get out and the buses are at the intersection.
Yeah.
So these are not, what we're trying to do is say, all right, what I think we're trying to say is we have existing problems, and it's not just on the campus, it's how we approach the campus, and we need to problem solve together. And I imagine, we'll plan as much as we can,
Right.
but there will be, the whole point of doing a pilot is to figure out what doesn't work right. And
In the road, yeah.
there will be things that we have to tweak after.
Yeah.
So thank you for pulling Matt into the conversation too.
Yeah, I think what we're going to talk about this some more in the future. Is that correct? Like in
Yes, we
the
are.
near future? Okay. So then I think it's best if you just finish everything instead of focusing on this right now, and we put all that information together. And then when we come back and sit down again, we'll have all this stuff. We could talk about it more this evening, but that way we have all these ideas together, and we're not breaking it apart right now. I think the overall of what you guys want to do, for me, is what I need to see, and then we can get into the particulars. If that's the plan, we can do that at another time or after you're done with your presentation.
That sounds good, Matt. So I think what we'll do is we'll finish the couple slides now, and then we'll schedule some time as a follow-up if that works.
That would be wonderful. That would be good for me. That way I could sit on this and see everything, and then you guys have this little bit of information to think about and to talk about, and then when we get together again, we can dive into it a little bit deeper and figure out what's going to work the best.
Okay, thank you.
People be.
Yes, yeah, thank you. So just quickly, communication to how, sorry.
Would you?
Oh, sure,
Yeah,
sure.
if you-
All right, I'm done with my
Thank you.
dance break.
If you don't need the map.
Yeah, no worries. So just speaking about how we're going to communicate to Haldane families, but then also working with the village, how we want to make sure we're communicating this out to the village as well. We did already present this at our January 6th board meeting. Our upcoming newsletter through the district will be highlighting this. We're going to have multiple email blasts, social media posts before the pilot begins. We're actually also creating a video to kind of help show the traffic flow. Just the more we can talk about it, hopefully the easier it'll be for people, because I know change is hard. And then we're talking about adding additional signs and then also additional staffing to help direct people during the pilot. And then we would love some help from the village.
It would be good if we, maybe you're gonna ask this of us, but we could share that out through our newsletter too, so that
That would be wonderful.
residents who aren't on.
Is that how you normally share things, a newsletter here, and then any other mechanisms we can talk through?
Well,
What
I'm
makes
looking
the
at
most
Mercury.
sense?
Whatever you think, but like, I would
News blast
Somebody's got a
and
news
the
blast,
website, yeah.
like that's sharing that information, will get to residents who aren't on the Haldane newsletter.
Mhm.
Like,
Everybody knows who Jimmy is.
That will do as well, yeah.
But there are people who aren't parents who should know about the traffic patterns.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then just requesting some support from the village. The one thing Megan started doing before when we were talking is to consider moving the crossing guard. So we'll have to kind of work through what that might be. I think in the very least, if we couldn't move the crossing guard during the pilot, we could look to just put a staff, someone there to kind of help with traffic. We can talk through what that might look like. Requesting additional patrol coverage during the pilot, and that's really to kind of help us just remind families what they need to do, answer any questions they might have, but keep traffic moving. And we've also already identified at least 6 to 8 people that during the pilot from the Haldane staff will be out visible wearing bright colored vests to make sure that we have kind of all hands on deck with this. And then certainly debriefing after the pilot period to get feedback from all, because this really, again, will inform. The ultimate goal is to inform the site work as we get ready to move into the capital project. I think that might have been the last slide there. Okay, so just an introduction to our pilot. Looking forward to continued conversations. We'll schedule something sooner than later and involve Matt and anyone else that you might think on this end with some of our staff.
Any other questions from
Wait,
the board?
It's- I got one more question. What's the plan for sporting events? Like, say on the weekend? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think we have any intention of not having parents be able to park in that lower lot during games. I mean, that's the way that they would access the gym and access the field, but that would be after dismissal.
Okay,
Those events occur after dismissal.
right, so this plan applies to school hours, is that right?
Arrival and dismissal hours. Yeah, good question.
Thank you.
The length of the pilot, you said starts April and is
So I don't know if we've determined an end date yet. Part of me thinks the more data we can get, the better. The very least would be at least 2 weeks, I would imagine, but it could be how it's going, and if we need to make drastic changes versus, smaller changes. So that would be communicated out as we go.
Or, I'm good. I would think too that, I mean, we communicate, and folks still don't hear things. I would suggest that you do a door-to-door drop in the neighborhood, the Northeast neighborhood, a flyer with the map.
Yeah, maybe let's talk about that. I think that's a really good idea.
And I had suggested when we met initially that the way we transitioned to the one-way street on Locust Ridge for the ambulances and buses was that we began after spring break. So school let out, there was a period of time where everybody was away, and when they came back, after advanced communication, it was fresh and it picked up and went well. I think that's what you're proposing too, is
Yes,
right after
yeah.
spring break.
It's a week after we get back. So we have 1 week after spring break, and then we hit the ground running.
I think it might be a problem moving the crossing guard from Orchard Street down. Because the kids presently, they come up over the hill, from the village, down the stairs. And they're gonna be running across the street. So, otherwise they'd have to go down the street and then make the crossing there.
From the P
If the
Street.
state lets us do it,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
and kids are kids, you know, they're gonna, I mean, they're just gonna get up there and say, I'm not walking. They're gonna zoom across.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That's just something to, keep an eye on when you
Yeah,
do
that's
your
helpful.
pilot.
Thank you.
What are you planning in terms of, to use a heavy-handed word, enforcement to stop cars going up?
I was gonna
Craigside?
ask all of you to come and help.
You just need that.
So it's our staff to start, right? So we have Officer Toby to start with us and then any of the other adults. And then again, if we have support from the village with other officers, it's just reminding parents to comply. I would say overall, it's going to be just fine and we'll have a couple that might need a little extra reassurance or support there.
I think Deputy Solby felt like the sheriff's department would be able to give us some extra bodies during the pilot.
Great.
Oh, so that leads me to, so that people currently who use from the other part of the village who come up and go across 9D with that crossing guard and walk up Craig's Drive, are you suggesting then that folks just cross at the light and continue up to?
Out there, yeah.
But you're saying that there won't be a crossing guard?
No, there will still be the crossing guard at 90.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
okay, I'm sorry, I thought I
This is for
misunderstood.
just for the one, which is we're switching where we're bringing, we said
Cars out.
It
And it was
Orchard Street.
just a wondering if that,
Yeah.
if pulling the kids away from the Cedar Street traffic would help a little bit. But
I see, I'm sorry, I thought that.
No, that's okay. It's a good question.
My feeling is that we've talked about this for a long time. There have been attempts at this in the past that were not as well organized as what you're proposing. I feel really good about what you're proposing from the beginning. And I think we kind of have to do this. We have to find out what works and how to improve. Matt and Tolve will be the key players here in making sure that we do it safely. I'm all for it. Yeah, not that you're asking us, but just letting you know. I feel great about it. Fine.
Thank you so much.
Done.
Okay, and now we have presentation from, Matt, did you have something else that you wanted to add, or is your hand just still up?
My hand is still up. I have carpal tunnel. It just stays up.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
We have with us our consulting engineer, Will Angelillo from Han Engineering. He's going to talk to us about two things. Want to start out just by way of introduction, reminding folks that before the July 2023 storm, we had been eyeing Fishkill Road for stormwater and sewer upgrades. And then the storm happened and everything went kerflooey. And among the things that we learned in that storm was the multiple ways we need to think about how water comes off the mountain and down the village on its way to the river. And this intersection at Fishkill and Mountain is a key intersection, both for existing conditions, but also planning for what may come later with water redirection. So Will has a plan he's going to talk us through. We sort of have to manage this intersection and the roads around it in bite-sized pieces to do it in a way we can afford. This is budgeted for the FEMA money that was allocated for this intersection, and then spread out from there. So take it away, Will.
Good evening. You said it well, Mayor. The project here we're working with in the budget was assigned from FEMA. After that storm, FEMA documented the road surface and one drain pipe as damaged and some curb.
Matt, I'm sorry, Will, could I
Yep.
interrupt you to ask you, do you have the plans up to share on your screen so that the
Oh.
public can see them?
Let me see if I had that. All right, are you seeing that now?
So orient us first and then go from there, please.
Sure. Got Fishkill Avenue running right to left on the page, and then you got Mountain Avenue perpendicular to that. We're right there at that intersection. This is existing conditions. You've got the two catch basins on Mountain Avenue and the one on Fishkill Avenue, right along the curb line there at that intersection, and you got the sewer running down the middle of the road. So as part of that storm, the road surface and this drain pipe from crossing from Mountain to the west side of Fishkill Avenue was documented as damaged along with the length of curb. So that's the basis of what was damaged and built our project around that. So this is the proposed plan. Can you see that?
Yep.
Great. So we're going to propose to move the two catch basins up just a little bit up Mountain Avenue to fit in a new crosswalk. The pipe then gets carried on the north side, gets carried across Fishkill, where there is the existing catch basin and manhole will go, and it will then run down Fishkill and connect into a new catch basin at the location where it will join the existing pipe that continues down Fishkill. On the south side of Mountain Avenue will be the other new catch basin, and we'll also have a manhole where there's an existing buried right angle in the pipe, will provide access for future maintenance of the pipe, and then it will connect into the existing pipe, which runs down the east side of Fishkill Avenue. We're also proposing a crosswalk across Fishkill Avenue. So now you'll have a continuous, safe way to cross from across Fishkill, across Mountain Avenue. And then you can continue on down the sidewalk towards Craigside. And resurfacing the intersection. So it's a relatively small project, but that's working within the budget.
Well, it also addresses a number of longstanding problems at that
Yes.
intersection.
Yes.
Am I correct, Will, in remembering that when this gets bid, we are also bidding relining the sewer line while the ground is open there along Fishkill, or is that an alternate?
We'll include that as an alternate. I think that's where we landed on, to include as an alternate just because of cost and budget. See, get a price on it. It is the sewer there is an old clay pipe. It's showing age. It's not failed yet. There are places where there's roots intruding into the sewer. So how the process works is they send essentially a roto-rooter down the pipe. It removes the roots, and then afterwards they follow that through and they line it with essentially a fiberglass sock that hardens down the length of the sewer line. All the work is done from the manholes. There's no excavation involved. And you go from manhole to manhole. And so
And the information that you are describing right now, just so that everybody is clear, we cameraed this street in early summer 2023 to prepare for the project we thought we were going to do before the storm. So we have imagery of the water line, and it does need to be relined. If we're lucky, it comes in at a number that we can be great to be able to do it while the ground is open at that intersection and we can access it easily.
yes. And I also like to add that the drainage, proposed drainage is all set with the mind that set that at some point we may have to come down through this area and do future drainage work, conveying water from Cedar Street further down towards Main Street, or connecting back further down to Backbrook. We tried to keep that in mind so that way we won't, in the future, we won't limit our options.
As we look forward with stormwater management, right now in the Cedar Street area, there are a number of stormwater pipes that go under private property. And so among the things that we're looking at with the redirection of water from Cedar Street is getting all of the drainage into public rights of way so that we can control them
Yeah.
and not have to disrupt private property owners and not have concerns about what people are building on top of them, et cetera. So that's a longer term goal. But this is our next step. Fair Street was our first step. Now we're moving up the system and hitting key intersections. Anything else in terms of description, Will?
The new pedestrian ramps at the crosswalks, so they'll be more visible and meet ADA requirements.
Right. And there is new, it looks to me like new sidewalk in front of two properties. Yeah, it looks like Coors next to the library, and then the Allen property on the corner, and the other property across the way. I can't remember the family name, but new sidewalks there.
Yes, that's the shaded tan color. And speaking with Bugsy, there's opportunity for him to do additional sidewalk in-house.
Great. That's on his list for budget preparations and spring work. Okay, questions from the board? Or discussion?
Possibility we're gonna have to take down those 2 trees.
Not at this stage, but at some point we are gonna, so further to the south, there are 2 trees that are,
In the street.
they're in the street, basically, they're in the street. And they are very much impinged, by the asphalt and sidewalk they are under. They're not yet at the end of their lives, but they're coming to the end of their lives. And when we do move to the south, we're gonna have to really think about how to manage those trees. They are right on top of the sewer line, and they're growing into the sewer line, and it's not they're beautiful trees. It's not the best place for a tree of that size, in that location. So that's a phase we're not to yet, because we're not going that far south yet, but we will have to have serious discussions about it. Sometimes trees and infrastructure don't mix.
Well, the trees are declining anyway.
Yeah.
They're a hazard in the middle of the street.
Yeah, and for sure.
Well, this is Andrew.
Yes.
How long is the work estimated to take, and is there a better time of the year to do it than another?
As I said, it's a relatively small project. They hard to say until we get a contractor on board. Maybe you're looking at maybe about 4 or 6 weeks of heavy construction in this area. They could begin in the springtime, as early as the springtime.
Well, except we want to make sure that we're working around the pilot, the traffic pilot.
Yes.
So later in the spring.
Well, I have a orientation question, and then maybe a budget question that's more for Kathleen. You might have explained this. What are the circles that are half black, half white?
Manhole.
Oh, okay.
Right now, there's no way to access the pipes that are down there. And going forward, we need to have proper access.
Yeah.
You mean this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are manhole covers and these are catch basins.
And the one that's on the south side of Mountain, it doesn't look like it's connected to anything.
That manhole, yes, there is a it says 15-inch HDPE that coming out the south side of that manhole. That's an existing drain pipe. It continues. So on Fishkill, there's drainage pipe on both the east and west sides going north
Okay,
south.
it's just not shown because it's existing. Okay, I understand. Thank you. And the 15 inches what we have, that's our normal size.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And then on the cost side, so FEMA, this would be a FEMA project at 80%.
FEMA will reimburse, this one's already obligated at 80%, and New York State obligated 12.5%. So
Great.
12.5% of the cost is us.
And will we have to do, so we'll have to do the band that we did at Fish?
No, this
at
is
Fair,
about,
but, or it's smaller.
it's much smaller. So this project, FEMA bundled together with the tunnel project. Will, you have to tell me if I have the numbers right. It's like 125,000 that we got from them. For the two, right? So we've spent roughly 40,000 on the tunnel, and the balance of what we have allocated is for the street. Do I have the numbers right?
That sounds roughly right as part of what FEMA obligated on their behalf, and then the village and state match on top of that.
And you took the number that we know remains after the tunnel project and worked the project to fit that number. So he's, okay. Okay,
Yes, obviously, you don't really know the real cost until you have a contractor put bid numbers on it.
and if the numbers change substantially or the scope of work were to have to change, we can go back, in theory, we can go back to FEMA and request further funding.
okay. And so not on this, but on Fair Street, any update on successful?
I have an
I
update
would
from
love to
today.
hear.
And look, we have to say thank you to Congressmember Lawler. I had grown exceedingly frustrated with FEMA. It was all projects of $1 million and higher. We're sitting on the Secretary of Homeland Security's desk for approval. We had met our requirements for a long, long time, and we had fronted all of the project for Fair Street out of a ban, and it was just sitting on the desk. And I asked the Congress member for help, and I asked him on Friday. It was obligated on Monday.
Wow.
So,
It's a lot of money. We had
I was
backed
getting
up
nervous.
to cover it, and
Yeah.
it's not something we want.
So now I hope that there can be different policy decisions. It's ludicrous to have projects of $1 million, down to $1 million sitting in that bottleneck. You blink and you spend $1 million on an infrastructure project, so.
Just on this project, so the total cost is 85,000 plus 20%.
Will,
Is that how you're back into that number?
Yeah, that sounds roughly the right number.
I have to look at the spreadsheet. I'll send it around again.
Right.
I'm sorry that I didn't think to bring that with me tonight, but we have budgeted it to what we have available from the FEMA money.
Yeah.
We need to vote on this?
Will is orienting you to the project, and we're authorizing Will to prepare an RFP.
Mhm.
So it sounds like we've got what we need. Would someone like to make a motion to authorize Will to produce an RFP?
I'll make that motion authorizing Will to do a RFP for this project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thanks, Will.
Okay, the next engineering item relates to the village dock. Bye, Peggy. The last time the dock had an engineering assessment was 2011. It was around the time that boats were starting, that Sea Streak was looking to come to the village. The village had a consulting engineer do an assessment of the dock and determine that because of the structure of the dock, vessels no larger than 132 feet should be docking. And our contracts with Sea Streak have reflected to date that the boats cannot exceed 132 feet. There has been some concern that some of the boats they brought are bigger, and we need to have that conversation with them if we decide to go forward with contract. My concern, I know Tony shares this concern, and some of us have discussed it over the last few years, is we really need to update this engineering. We have requests for boat dockings from Circle Line, a small company out of Putnam, and we expect that Sea Streak will ask again. And of course, we host the Clearwater. My concern is, let's have a look at that dock and make sure that it is still sound to be receiving vessels of that size or of any size. And so Will, has taken what was reported in 2011 and formulated an RFP for us to approve. Do you have anything to add, Will?
Yeah, so the RFP, as you mentioned, is built around I built it around two phases. The first phase is probably the more immediate concern, knowing what size vessel could be moored at the pier. And the second phase, take a more overall evaluation of the pier and if there's sort of improvements that need to be made in the short term versus the long term, and how that could affect what could and couldn't be moored at the pier.
Great. One thing that I thought about when I was looking at the drawings earlier, Will,
Yep.
is the previous recommendations focused on length of the boat. I don't know, I'm sure wind shear, I'm no engineer, you are. I'm wondering about how we consider the height and width of the vessel, not just the length. When you think about wind catching a tall mast, how does that figure into the calculation of?
That's a good point, and that's why this really needs to be analyzed by someone who specializes in
Yeah.
docks and nautical design. And
So how does that work? We would hire the nautical engineer who responds to the RFP successfully, or we hire you and you work with them.
I mean, they probably can work directly with the village. And we can,
But then
opine on
be
it.
available to help us understand what
Yeah, if
what's
there's anything
important.
like that, or providing a recommendation on the engineer that specializes in docks and that sort of piers. And what kind of vessels the village is looking to have docked at this pier, which are primarily sailing ships.
No.
Well, I mean, it has been, that's one of the discussions we need to have is what is it that we're looking to do? We have had passenger vessels. We have had the Clearwater. I'm not aware of any other.
Right. That original 2011 looked like it was talked about a 250-foot long line tanker, and that seems to what prompted that 2011 analysis.
Line tanker?
Yes, it's at the top of the second page.
Remember there was a proposal, I don't remember the details now, but there was some talk of having a very, very large ship of some sort using the dock, which, I mean, I think died on the vine, but I want to say it was like maybe some point in COVID, just after COVID.
Oh, yeah, but it was that later proposal, I understood it to have been rejected because it exceeded the recommendations in this.
Yeah.
This was around the time that C Street, 2011 is around the time that C Street started coming to the village.
Mhm.
So, I mean, even using the standards we have right now, one of these proposals is a no. Because the C Street boat is, the Circle Line boat is too big. There are, in my mind, it's the first question we have to answer is the safety question. Can we host vessels safely? And can our dock take the strains in a way that we're able to afford to maintain?
For this proposal, do we have any sense of the cost for an assessment
No,
like
that's
this?
why
And
we're
does
doing an
Michelle-
RFP.
Okay,
So I did talk to Michelle about how we would do this, because I do think it's important that we do this before we go into approvals. in this year.
So quick.
And we do have, we do have $100,000 that we allocated from the general fund for general village expenses. It's on the budget line as village improvements. So we have not used all of that. I've asked for her next report to give us a sort of a summary on where we are so far, but there is money available there. We also have in that line, one of our thoughts in that line was the RFBs, the flashing crossing lights. I think that was 22,000. Will, do you have any sense of what this might be without having
No,
heard it?
again, that's why I tried to break it into two phases. Maybe the first phase is, again, the more immediate concern, is a more manageable bite, and then the second phase you could follow up and do at a later time.
We need to.
Yeah, that's the point.
Okay. So the first question before us is authorizing Will to send out the RFP.
Now, that RFP would be to assess the condition of the dock as is
Correct.
and how big of a boat we could tie up there, you know, with the strings.
What the
or whatever.
tolerances
Yeah,
are.
that's great. Make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. The next part of the conversation, there are two more pieces of the doc conversation. As we go into budget season, I think we need to refresh. We had assigned someone previously to do a refresh on comparative numbers for docking in other river communities, and it wasn't done. So I've asked Tony to put together some comparatives, comparative numbers. So that's to come for us to have in our budgeting minds.
Also, I think charging by the passage rather than charging by the foot would be better off, because all that information is the Coast Guard keeps all that stuff, and it's all foilable, you know. So as the people come off the boats, we get charged per head. Because there was I think it was last year, we had one boat pulled in, another boat pulled out here, and they were jumping from boat to boat.
No, they're not allowed to do that. They were doing that. The rafting is not.
To get in. Now, there's also things called spud docks, I believe they're called, that you can put out in the river that float up and down with the river. But that's to be researched.
Yes, I think the first question is for us to compare is how is the way we're pricing now, how does that compare to other municipalities that do docking? My concern, I think we should look at it for sure. The one caution I would have is that we not create a system that is onerous for the staff. I don't want the staff to be having to check Coast Guard logs to make sure they're complying. So something to be considered. Let's get the numbers first and then talk about what works best here. The idea that you raised, I know that has come before the village, is it called the spud dock? The sort of the floating dock. The gentleman who contacted us from Peekskill, company, New York Boat, the much smaller boat. It's a 64 foot boat. I told him we would have to come back to him after we had more information via the assessment. But that is a very different business model. That model, rather than bringing a bunch of people, dropping them, it is a ferry service. So people can get on the boat or off the boat. It starts in Peekskill, makes stops at Bear Mountain, West Point, Cold Spring. And people could also get on the boat from Cold Spring and go to those places. So it would have a different kind of benefit than we've had in other models. I think it's worth talking to him after we have some of this baseline stuff figured out. It's a much smaller boat, much smaller impact. So that's for everyone to consider. Clearwater has asked for dates in April 29th to the 8th of May, which is before the RFP completion deadline. my question for the board to consider is, these are the educational tours that Clearwater does in the spring. How do we feel about approving that docking only, not a commercial docking?
What are
In
those dates?
April,
What?
April 29th
Oh,
to May 8th.
6 to May 7th. Yeah.
What? Okay,
And that
I
would be,
transcribed it wrongly.
No, she has.
April 26th.
and that's.
Maybe
Maybe she changed
It
it.
might have changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did. January 6th, she changed it. No, 121 is the newer one.
Oh, I see. And that would be a continuous docking, right?
They would dock, take people out on cruises and then be here overnight, the way they were last year in the spring. They
We
do-
were requesting the formal application.
Hmm?
They haven't filled out the formal
Right.
application yet.
I'm not looking for an approval tonight. I'm looking for an in concept. Do we want to have them go through the process of making an application tonight?
I think it's been positive and everyone enjoys having them. Yeah.
One thing with the boats, when the big boats go down there, it'd be nice if they let everybody off, then got lost for a while out in the river and came back, because that boat sitting there.
Yeah.
And, idling and, the smell, and you can't see the river. I mean, that's something.
Yeah.
We might take into consideration, where a boat would come, drop them off, and then go somewhere, then come back at a designated time.
For sure. We have attempted to incentivize, and it's actually worked with C Street. We've only allowed them to park one day of a weekend,
Mhm.
and we charge more for the day that they're docked. Cheaper for them to disappear than to stay on the dock. That has worked. It's still one day where the boat is parked for 3 hours, but we have certainly heard the community on those very same concerns and done something to date to minimize those impacts. But I think the overall conversation of, it's not just the impact of the boat at the dock, it's how it impacts public safety, how, in terms of officers, we don't have enough seats, restaurant seats to feed people, they end up being hungry and, and bathrooms.
Bathrooms.
Yeah, I mean, it's all stuff, at some point, I think as part of this budget process, we have to ask the question, does the revenue cost too much?
Mhm.
It's not a conversation that we need to have tonight, because we're not, we don't have a proposal from C Street. We don't have a large scale proposal from anyone right now, other than Circle Line, which has to be rejected because of the boat size.
Another thing down at the dock, there's no way to get out of the water.
That is one thing that is very much on my mind. Will, did you hear what Tony just said?
No, can you repeat that?
There's no way to get out of the water if one falls in.
Yeah, there were,
Oh.
At one time, there was supposed to be a ladder.
there
That
was, a
never put
ladder
on.
was designed for the dock on the side, so that if you fell off or fell off a boat, you would have a way to get back on the dock without swimming all the way to the rocks.
Sure.
And that never, I don't know if it never happened or if it was there and it was taken away. But regardless, we should have a way to get, if you fall, somebody needs to be able to get out of the water.
Is there also safety?
Yeah, even if someone jumped the fence and fell in.
Say that again?
Even if someone, just a person on the pier jumped the fence and then fell in.
Yes. Andrew has just asked the question, is there safety equipment there? The village for years replaced. It kept getting stolen. Now we have cameras on the dock,
Mhm.
so we may have more success in
Mhm.
catching the people who are stealing them. And also potentially we can look at, or the nautical engineer can advise us on how we make them accessible but secure. Harder to steal is the point.
There's also a lot of insurance stuff. If they're harder to steal, then it's harder to access.
Right, that's
So
the
it's in
question.
the water.
You have to balance it.
So not having them at all, I mean, having them might create a false sense of safety. Not having them, I think you'd be better off, you'd have to run that by the insurance and everything else.
Well, we also have to ask what we're required to do by the Coast Guard.
Right.
And I don't think any of those questions have been looked at in a very long
Mhm.
time, which is why we're starting fresh.
I think it could also encourage safety, but converse too. That's like the concept behind seatbelts
Right.
too, isn't it? Doesn't make you more reckless, it makes you.
I lean on that side.
Maybe we can get together and have like a conversation about this with some people who know about both and safety.
Let's get the assessment
But,
first,
you know, yeah, I'm
then-
talking about down the road.
and then for sure, we can have a public workshop on it, for
Mhm.
sure, because there are plenty of people in the community who are avid boaters and may have thoughts. Okay, so we've said, yes, Marjorie, go ahead and ask Clearwater to make an application for April and May, correct? I will follow up with Circle Line, and as I said, I had the conversation today with New York Boat Company. And we'll be in touch with them again later. I would want, if we were contemplating him, I'd want him to come in and give a presentation. Any other thoughts? Okay, moving on. Thank you, Will.
Certainly.
Well-
Have a Good evening.
Over to you, Laura. The next item is yours.
Right. Okay. So, so we have before us, a resolution in support of, a state bill called the Packaging Reduction and Recycling Infrastructure Act. And, Heidi Wendell, resident of Nelsonville, a member of the Phillipstown Climate Smart Task Force, is here to help answer questions, and she is the one who, provided materials and asked us to, consider adopting this, resolution in support. So, this bill essentially puts puts some of the costs of packaging back onto the producers. And it's something that's of particular interest to municipalities, given the cost that we shoulder to cover waste hauling. And it's a bill that is a priority bill for the New York Conference of Mayors. It has been for the last couple of years. A number of municipalities have adopted these resolutions in support, including Phillipstown just adopted it. It's a priority bill in New York City because of cost. And so before us to adopt the resolution if we are in support. And if, Heidi, anything else that you want to flag for this? I'll say too, there's like clearly an environmental benefit of this as well, of reducing waste from our waste stream. And some of that is in the justification that you can see. Yeah,
Has this been done on a state level already?
so this is a state bill and it has been in the legislature for, I think, a number of years, but it hasn't passed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is trying to urge legislators to pass it by saying that, there's a lot of support for it at the local level.
I'm going to support this resolution. I will say there are concerns that I have about the structure. It talks about financially supporting municipal recycling programs. We don't recycle our own, right? We collect and it goes to a contractor. What I would imagine this applying is like if we were a county that had a transfer station, an actual receiving location for recycling and I don't know what the word is, production of recycling, meant processing of recycling, that those costs would be offset. I don't know what it would offset at the village level.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the cost is the idea of it reducing the amount of waste that gets to Cold Spring, right? So this is creating an incentive for Amazon to create better packaging that reduces
Yep.
all the packaging that's produced so that we have less in our trash cans, that maybe the next time that we contract with Royal, we can say there's, I mean, I think that the distance is a little bit further in that way, but the idea is that it should be reducing the waste that is produced from the start. Got it. As well.
Would there be any way that it would adversely or positively affect either businesses or residents? You just mentioned about residents and maybe it's less packaging that we would receive, but would there be a cost of any kind in terms of registering, or would it change the way businesses operate in terms of packaging?
So I don't know. My sense is that this is oriented toward large
For
scale
$1 billion
businesses.
and
It's
up.
toward the
Okay.
big, the
Yeah.
Amazons
Okay,
and,
yeah, I see.
you know, that kind of Walmarts and that kind of thing.
So you're incentivizing from the top.
Yeah.
But can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear
Yeah,
me?
hi, Heidi.
Oh, hi. So the village would also receive fees from a fund that the state will collect from producers for the packaging. So it's
Okay.
not just the reduction in the amount of waste or the recyclable waste, but also the village will actually get money if this legislation is passed.
And how is it apportioned?
Well, it's so for Beyond Plastics, which is the entity that drafted the resolution that you guys are considering, and other entities like Pete Harcum is also one of the drafters, but they have put together a sort of overall fund, and it will return quite a lot of money to municipalities. For example, you know, like New York City is a signer of this because they're going to get a huge amount of money. But there's all different municipalities of various sizes will get sizable amounts of money over the 12-year period and then into the future. So I mean, a village our size, or Nelsonville, certainly it's not been assessed, but also Cold Spring, there's not a actual measure of the money. But for Yonkers, it's like very large, millions.
We'll get like $13.
No, it's going to be much more than that.
And the bigger point here is reducing packaging. I mean, how many times do you get a box from Amazon and it's gigantic and there's a small thing in it and it's full of all sorts of unnecessary stuff. So in principle, I'm comfortable.
Can you clarify where the fees are coming from for the record? I don't understand where the fees are. Who's paying the
Heidi,
fees?
is this correct? The fees are paid by the producers,
Yes,
manufacturers, yeah.
And they're paid into a fund of some kind, or?
yes, they're paid into a fund that the state collects.
But just to be realistic in terms of what Cold Spring may receive, I don't think we should all get excited.
No, no, the bigger achievement here is supporting the effort to reduce packaging.
I got a question about local merchants. Are they gonna be, is it gonna affect how they're packaging their product?
No.
No styrofoam, no plastic, no.
Companies
So it
larger
doesn't have
than,
nothing to do with Food Town then.
no, net income over 1 million who sell or distribute certain materials and products to reduce packaging.
Well, sounds like a win-win
Yeah,
for
it's a
us.
manufacturer.
Even if we get the $13, it's.
I would just Heidi there, or Laura, I'm not sure who has the document, there's in the second whereas, there's a word missing. The Village of Cold Spring taxpayers being no exception.
That was my one addition to this, so
Okay.
I missed the being.
Okay.
I just thought that we should add Cold Spring into the resolution. Yes, I can add that. And so would someone like to read the resolution? There's no further discussion, read it into the record. Yeah, I'm happy to. Any other discussion? Resolution number 3, 2026. Support for the New York State Assembly and Senate to pass a strong packaging reduction and recycling infrastructure act. Senate Bill 1464, Assembly Bill 1749. Whereas packaging makes up approximately 40% of the waste in New York State, and whereas managing waste costs New York taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars annually, with the Village of Cold Spring taxpayers being no exception. Whereas most plastic packaging is not recyclable, reusable, or refillable, packaging systems are not widely available. And whereas plastic causes serious pollution, including litter and use of toxic chemicals, whereas companies that produce packaging should be responsible for the cost of managing packaging waste, not just taxpayers. And whereas enacting the Packaging Reduction and Recycling Infrastructure Act, pending in the New York Assembly and New York Senate, would reduce waste, increase recycling rates, create jobs, reduce toxicity in packaging, provide millions of dollars in savings for local governments and taxpayers, and lower greenhouse gas emissions. And be it resolved The Village of Cold Spring urges the New York State Legislature to pass and Governor Kathy Hochul to sign into law a strong and effective Packaging Reduction and Recycling Infrastructure Act, Senate Bill 1464, Assembly Bill 1749. Resolved further that the Village of Cold Spring shall forward copies of this resolution to Governor Kathy Hochul, New York Assembly Speaker Carl Heastie, and New York State Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart Cousins, Assembly Member Dana Levenberg, State Senator Rob Rollison, and all others deemed necessary and proper. And let's do a roll call vote.
Trustee Bartis?
Just roll call vote?
Yes.
Yes, aye.
Trustee Hall?
Aye.
Trustee Bosey?
Aye.
Trustee Wood?
Aye.
Mayor Foley?
Aye. And do we have a resolution number? 3.
2026.
Right. Marjorie, can I work with you to create a
Yeah.
final version and
Yes.
send it out? Yeah, be good. Great, thank you. And thank you, Heidi.
Yes, thanks.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for
Thank
hanging out.
you. And please don't forget to send it to the.
Yes, yes, we
Okay,
will.
thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. See ya.
Thanks a lot.
No good if it's.
Okay. Jeff Amato has waited, the chair of the Recreation Committee has waited patiently.
And Jim is on as well.
Is Jimmy on?
Yep.
Oh,
Someone named Jimmy is.
Jimmy.
oh, great. Survey designer. So, I'm really excited about this. I'm gonna let them tell you about it because I've been talking a lot. But the Recreation Committee has ideas to move their focus and work forward. Tell us about it. I don't know if Jimmy's gonna talk or Jeff.
James Kellerson?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if Jimmy's available or not. You can ping him and see if he is. I'll let him speak if he's available.
I don't have a number to ping him.
Oh, not call him. I just meant if Marjorie messaged. I think she unmuted or.
Muted. He has been asked to unmute.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
He's not available.
Okay. Well, I don't have the nice accent that he does, so I'll try and go ahead. But yeah, so this survey is something that we, the rec committee, did a little more than 5 years ago, and we feel like it's due to happen again. Essentially, what we'd like to do is poll the community, village residents, and town residents to see what they think of our parks and facilities, areas where we can improve, and as well as potential programming that we could have either for children, teens, adults. So we came up with ideas, tried to leave it in areas somewhat open-ended, but really we're just trying to gather information at this point to help kind of lead us and prioritize. We have some ideas that we'd like to do, but we want to make sure that they're going to be useful. So that's kind of the basis of it. We hope to use some type of a Google form that could easily tally our results, and we'll have QR codes for it that we can send out via email from the village, as well as social media posts, post flyers up throughout the village in common areas, and even have hard copies available at the library and the senior center. So to try and touch all bases and cover a number of people. So that's kind of the plan that we have, and we're welcome any input, any modifications to the survey that you may have.
Thank you. We will hear from questions from trustees first. I have a few questions, but I want others to have the chance to talk first. And suggestions.
Is the survey specifically for the village of Cold Spring, that geographic area?
No, we did have a section that you would indicate whether you're a village resident or a town resident, so that we could see if maybe certain areas are used more by village and less by town, or vice versa. But to really get an overall opinion from because I think that the town does use the village facilities, so we are interested in in their feedback as well.
So it's for the town of Phillipstown and the villages within the town.
Yeah, the facilities only in the village, but we're going to open it up to both village and town residents.
Go ahead. This maybe is what you're thinking, Andrew. I think it's great to ask for the general feedback of the people who use the area. Especially the first question that asks about facilities in the Cold Spring area, but then we only talk about Cold Spring parks. So I'd be in favor of just saying facilities in the village of Cold Spring and just talking, to be clear that, or we only want feedback about our parks. That same comment. Jeff, does that make sense, or were you guys trying to?
I think that was the intent. So we can definitely tweak the language slightly. But yeah, we're only focusing on the village facilities. We're not going to be working with the town to open it up and try and discuss their facilities as well. So
Okay, yeah, it looks like it's in questions 1 and 2.
Yeah.
That was my only.
Well, and in that vein, yes, she's Village of Cold Spring. And in question 2, I would say that it's very important that we get feedback on Dockside and that you specifically ask about Dockside. It is a state park, but it is currently under the village's management, and it is without budgetary help from New York State Parks. It is beloved by our residents, and we are coming to a time when our contract for management of that park is expiring, and I think that we need to be able to talk about how our residents, in particular, use and benefit from that site.
yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Do you have any questions about how people access the sites? Whether it's pedestrian, driving, that type of thing, and where they might park?
I don't believe we do. I think that's a good. I think that's a good. Yeah, it's a good suggestion. Yeah.
The other thing I thought about was, the constant cry of need in the village is teens. And I feel like it would be maybe helpful to get, and maybe even you could get some teens to give you feedback, to get some questions specifically related to teen activities. And then in the back, what describes your household? There's a single adult and then families, but there isn't, I'm wondering if you can define your audience. It'd be great to have teens feel like they can participate in this and have impact. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we could work with Haldane and get it out to
that's a great idea.
Yeah, to them as well.
And on question 9, this is just a fussy grammar thing. It says, please select all that you or your household would use, but then it's an open-ended response. So it either needs to be a list added or it needs to be an open question.
Okay.
Any other feedback?
It's great. I'm really happy doing it. Thank you.
Me too. If you would send us the next round, that'd be great. I know you want to get this out. You asked for an early January review, so you could get it out in the early part of the year. We'll be able to turn it around faster at this time of year than we were when it first came to us.
What is?
Yeah, no, this is perfect. We'll be able to turn it. We'll be able to revise it and get you the next revision for review. We were just hoping to have it done, yeah, somewhere in the first quarter, hopefully, to
Great.
try and implement this year
And
at least some programming.
The clerk raises an important question. What is your distribution plan? How
Yeah.
will you?
Yeah, so it would be via email from the village, as well as social media on the various social media outlets, as well as flyers up in throughout the village in the banks and post office or drug stores and local restaurants, as well as hard copies available at the library and the senior center, and then also working with Haldane to try and distribute it as well.
And Jimmy has joined now.
I'm here. I'm very, very sorry. I was trying to unmute myself, but I was unable to. Yeah, I think Jeff, you covered it pretty much for distribution. So we want to obviously get it out digitally, but we do want to reach people who do not have access to digital means, are lower on the kind of end of the digital inclusion scale. So yeah, we do want to drop some hard copies around to make sure we reach people in the community who are not as fay with their phones and such. So that's the main thing, really.
Tony raised a good question since you're talking about printing and distribution. Do you have a budget established? Do you know how much the cost of printing is going to be? Or if you don't know tonight, we'll need to
Yeah. Personally not. I mean, to be honest, I will just print 100 copies at home and we'll see how we go. I don't mind doing that. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
I'm sure that this is not a huge cost and the village will be able to accommodate it. I just wanted to get a
Yeah.
sense. The one thing that I will raise that was thorny the last time we attempted to do a large village-wide survey like this was protecting against people response bombing. And that has been particularly around the issue of parks. That has been a challenge with respondents answering multiple times and getting, yeah. So I guess the question is, the way we got around that when we did the community survey on policing was that how did we do that? We assigned numbers to the surveys, the paper surveys that got returned, and then we used SurveyMonkey, and there was a unique identifier on the survey response. I don't mean to sound sinister, but it's just a reality, given some of the controversy around how parks are used here.
Yeah.
That might happen. So do you have a plan for that?
So this is you're talking about the digital, sorry, the paper copies, people submitting multiple
paper copies or digital. Just you put it out on social media and anybody can click the link.
Yeah, I mean,
a person can only click through once.
Yeah, so digitally we can kind of record. We can potentially record someone's email address and then not let them submit more than once per email. But yeah, in terms of if we're doing it, if we're anonymizing, I guess I hadn't thought about it if we're anonymizing it. I had it in my mind that we would capture some personally identifiable information that prevents people from submitting digital twice.
I hate that we're having to have this conversation, Jimmy, but
Yeah.
it's a reality in the environment we're dealing with a large scale parks project around us. And I want to make sure that you get the best information that you can that really reflects the desires of village and town residents using the parks within the village boundaries.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I guess I'm challenging you to say, how can you come back to us with a plan?
Yeah, we'll bake that into the next round, like kind of some kind of security to prevent that. I think the paper copies, I'll look into what methods there are for digitally. I think it'll be easier if we capture some sort of signature, whether it's an email address or something along those lines, and that does limit people's ability to submit multiple times. There'll be mechanisms in the there's a tool called Typeform that we're looking at that as a free tier, and they have lots of extra kind of security tools.
Okay, great. I am really grateful for your work on this, and I can't wait to get this survey in the field once we have a look at your next draft and you propose the plan.
Fantastic. No, we're looking forward to getting it out there and then getting the data back and
Yeah,
just having
doing
a
the
clear
stuff.
view on. Yeah, absolutely. Kind of like actually using using that data to kind of inform I guess the roadmap for the rec commission moving forward.
Thank you.
Is that Jimmy from Church Street?
It is Jimmy from
Oh,
Church
it's Jimmy
Street.
from Church Street.
It's Jeremy from Church Street. Yeah, I'm actually at the rec at the moment, so
Your image, is it a monkey?
No, that's a really old one. I don't know why that's popped up. That's just me jumping in the air.
You have a tail?
Strange contortion. Okay. Thank you very much, you guys. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Next, discussion of the letter to New York State Parks, Recreation and Historic Preservation regarding the findings of the Hudson Highlands Fair Trail FGEIS.
There's
So-
a revision that not in this packet.
Yeah.
But it was shared to trustees earlier. Has anyone not seen a copy of the updated one since John first had a look at it? We
What's
can
in
print it.
the package was the one
Yeah.
requesting the hearing, and then what
So-
came out via email was.
Yeah, do you want us to make,
Go ahead.
I can run out and
Yeah.
make a few copies.
while we're going through background for the public?
Yes.
So, the final generic environmental impact statement for the HHFT, was released. The village and the town requested a public hearing. The secret process the law does not require a public hearing, but it also does not prohibit it, particularly in the cases where there is a great deal of public interest. They declined a public hearing and public comment. And adopted the findings at the minimum date, which was 10 days after they were released. It was a 1,000-page document. So really not leaving folks an opportunity to digest or to have meaningful response. And for me, most troublingly, nearly all of the issues that the village board raised, and its consulting planner raised regarding impacts and mitigation needs were dismissed as no adverse impact. And most troublingly, public safety, the questions around EMS and traffic control got pushed to the very last category of the findings, which is a post-operation monitoring. And that period would begin 2 years after the trail is complete and operating. So no plan, no mitigation, open it and see what happens and hope for the best on public safety and on traffic. Go ahead,
The
Tony.
document was really hard to access the information.
Yeah.
You know, you would say, see this portion. And you couldn't, through the document that was out there, the electronic document, you couldn't get from one place to the other easily.
That was noted by the officer in charge who requested a paper copy. I made that request to Parks. Parks was not willing to provide paper copies. They sent him a thumb drive that arrived after the findings were adopted. So I will read it into the record after we discuss it. But I wanted, our attorney has advised us to get some things on the record about our concerns about the findings and the impacts on the village. So I worked with him and the consulting planner for this draft discussion of the content, and then we'll read it into the record. If the board is wanting to read it into the record, wanting to adopt it. Approve it, submission, I should say. Any discussion?
Does anyone else have anything to say?
Go for it.
So I only saw this a little earlier today. And I feel in general that the FGIS being a generic instrument gave generic answers.
Yeah.
And those generic answers are insufficient for a project of this scale and size, and it needs a great deal more specificity in terms of its responses. I think the ask that you're making here is for a supplemental EIS, correct? Yeah. As I read through this, and I was only able to sort of go through it quite quickly, I wonder whether there would, I think in here there's enough or sufficient reference to the concerns, but I wonder whether they could also be more specific.
We don't have to agree to send this tonight. If there are things that I just wanted to get it in front of you so you can see the draft.
Yeah.
If you think that there are things that need to be added, I'm certainly open to folks making edits.
There are a few things, and I on the 3rd of April, or was it the 4th of March, that we were able to make the initial comments. I put in some comments. This was an individual before I became a trustee. And then subsequently, in the recent round of the FGIS, I responded to the comments that they had, the FGIS had made in response to my comments. And so just in terms of the village of Cold Spring, there were a few. The conclusions were, to comply with SECRA, the lead agency must rescind the statement that the Monroe balancing test is beyond the scope and supplement the FGIS with a formal analysis applying the test to this project. This analysis must publicly balance the asserted essential state purpose against the local interest embodied in the Village of Cold Spring Comprehensive Plan and Code. 2, expand the growth and community character analysis to explicitly assess the spillover impacts from the state-owned project components like Dockside Park onto the adjacent village neighborhoods and the cumulative effect of preempting local land use review. 3, reevaluate the traffic mitigation analysis to eliminate the coercive framing and to genuinely explore alternatives developed in substantive consultation with the village, rather than presenting a single, potentially detrimental option as the only solution. So it was those types of comments that I was wondering whether it could be incorporated more explicitly in this letter to make it really clear of some of the specific concerns that the village had.
Thoughts from others?
Well, question. So those are, as you noted, were your concerns that you wrote as a constituent, not as a private citizen, not as a board member. As a board, we worked with a consultant. We all wrote our questions, our concerns, pages and pages and pages. We presented it. It was available. They took it. Obviously, everyone has an opinion about the response that we received back. My concern is that this letter should reflect our concerns as a board, not as personal concerns. Not that those concerns aren't valid, but I don't think this letter should be like another opportunity for us to dig in on our personal issues with this project. It should reflect kind of our broader concerns. And I don't know if I'm articulating that quite right, but I just don't think that, like, if we start doing that, then, page 15 is going to be Phillips Wood's personal issue.
No. I think with all due respect, that's not what I'm saying here.
Okay.
Those were comments, and I could only create those comments as an individual at the time.
Understood.
As I became a board member, those were some of the issues that concerned me, and that's what motivated me to run as a board member, because these issues, whether I'm an individual or a board, they're the same issues and the same concerns that I have. And so now as a board member, I'm bringing those same concerns before the board.
And I don't, you're not suggesting to add that language, cut and paste. You're
No.
saying these are concepts that you're concerned about. I hadn't thought about, I think there is a lot of value in establishing as part of this stage of the record, our request again for the Monroe balancing test to be done. I think that what you've, well, let me let Laura speak. I don't want to go, you go first. You had other thoughts.
Well, I think my guess is that the things that you raised, Andrew, are in the planner's letter, like the letter from the village.
Yeah, they are.
But I also, our ask is different this time, and so kind of logistically or legally or something, what is a supplemental EIS, and does it cover only certain topics, or like, we should only be raising the issues that could be covered by an SEIS, and I don't actually know what that is.
A supplemental environmental impact statement can be done normally the final general or specific environmental impact statement is the last.
Yeah.
Right? That's when the lead agency has responded to findings or responded to comments, and a chart of action is set and permitting happens. An SEIS can be applied when more specific study is needed in a more defined area. As Andrew said, what we've got right now is generic. A specific says, come down to this level.
And it's different than a site-specific EIS?
This is yes, but if we need to confirm that with John, John wrote supplemental rather than site-specific. We can certainly ask the question to make sure we've got the right language there.
Well, the site-specific would refer either to site development stage one or stage one of development, those two phases of the
Well, I think Laura's asking is a site-specific environmental impact statement different than a supplemental environmental impact statement? That's what you're asking, yeah. I mean, obviously, in both cases, we're asking to go from the general to the specific, but do we have the right reference here? That is what I see in the secret handbook as well. And it could be that site-specific is something that when we were discussing in previous iterations, that may have been the way that we formulated language. Yeah. So we all knew what we were talking about at the time.
Yeah.
But the site-specific wouldn't be the village of Cold Spring. It would be the trail, the part of the plan that impacts the
way that this is written, and we have to remember that we need to be communicating from our purview and from the impact areas. So the language is, given all the above, the Village Board of Trustees believes that the significant adverse environmental impacts noted above were inadequately addressed by the lead agency. Therefore, a supplemental environmental impact study is required so that the lead agency can conduct a proper analysis of project portions within and adjacent to the Village of Cold Spring. The village is asking the lead agency to commit to conducting an SEIS for these areas.
And is there a timeline for this?
No, because their findings are done.
Yeah.
This is at this stage, getting things in the public record. Yeah. Till we decide, we see how we need to respond next. It is, let me just read the paragraph so the public isn't at a disadvantage here. This is the draft. Village of Cold Spring, an involved agency in the SEQRA review for the Hudson Highlands Fjord Trail project, is deeply disappointed that our request for a public hearing and public comment period on the FGEIS was refused by the lead agency, the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. While SEQRA does not require that a public hearing be conducted for an FGEIS, it does not prohibit holding such a hearing. Given the scope and scale of this project and the substantial, well-documented public interest and concern, there would have been absolutely no harm in holding a public hearing on the FGEIS. It should be clear to the lead agency at this point, and particularly considering the voluminous public response to the DGEIS, that there is significant public concern about the project. A public hearing on the FGEIS was indeed warranted. Village of Cold Spring is the municipality that will be most heavily impacted by the Fjord Trail project. The Board of Trustees are particularly troubled by the multitude of FGEIS findings of no adverse impact. Significant issues related to growth, community character, and quality of life, traffic and transportation, emergency, public safety, and community services, fiscal impacts to the hosting municipalities, and general environmental protection have been allegedly addressed in the FGEIS, but without any meaningful assessment or specificity. Moreover, two of the greatest concerns of the village board, traffic and emergency response, were relegated to treatment with post-opening monitoring, in quotes, which would not have even begin until 2 years after the full completion and opening of the entire proposed trail. It appears the lead agency is attempting to avoid its SEQRA responsibilities by improperly deferring review. It is plainly obvious that additional traffic and emergency responses will come with increased visitors passing through the village to reach the trail. The costs and impacts associated with traffic management and emergency response cannot be absorbed by the village of Cold Spring and the town of Phillipstown. Post-opening monitoring is simply too little, too late. And then the statement I read earlier asking for an SEIS. So, I mean, Andrew, I take your point about Monroe balancing. I think that's worth asking John about. But I would agree with Tweets and Laura that we are making a specific request and putting a particular position in the record. And while all of those things are certainly important to all of us on the board, I think we don't want to lose the most powerful thing that we want to say by going. I mean, if we start going down into specificities of our concerns, it will be another 200-page document. Those are my thoughts. I would keep it simple and focused.
So what is, I'm not clear in that sense, what the village is asking. I didn't have any input into this. I only received it.
That's why it's a draft. It's a draft.
2 hours before the meeting. And what is the role of, say, Tony?
You got it last night, just for clarity on the record.
Right.
You got it last night, and the attorney gave it back to us this afternoon.
Mhm.
We're talking about a draft tonight. If we need more time,
Yeah.
there's no deadline here. If we feel like we need more time to discuss it, we can. So I want to make clear on the record that there's no attempt to keep anyone from having full discussion about it.
Yeah, I don't feel like I've had the opportunity to fully review this or was part of any discussion around this draft. And
This is the discussion about the draft. There hasn't been other discussion. So if you wanted to,
but the draft was created from somehow, right?
the draft was created
This is draft
working
number
from, this is draft, right?
I
So
didn't see draft 1 or 2 or 3.
So before you get excited, hang on. Draft 1 was from the planner, the consulting planner.
Mhm.
Draft 2 was me building out from it
Mhm.
at the instruction of the attorney, which was
Mhm.
work from the base of the planner's
Mhm.
draft. And then draft 3 is his edits to my work. Now we bring it to you and say, what changes do you think are appropriate? What does the board want to see? That becomes the next draft that we approve and send in. This is not an attempt to push anything through. This is the first time we're all talking about it.
So then one thing, can you clarify, is this a response to the village's comments that were made and its submissions that were made by the 3 currently serving board members and it was only the 3 currently serving board members that voted for that particular submission. But then what is the role of Tony? I won't speak for Tony, but a new trustee become?
We are past the point in the process of specific comments. They've taken the specific comments from the public. They have opted not to address many of those concerns. From a procedural standpoint, next, they could have held a public hearing and taken individual comments and asked for more comments from us, but they didn't. So what we're pointing out here in the record is you didn't hold a public hearing or take comments. You should have. And there's so many things left unaddressed in that final generic environmental impact statement that you need to do a supplemental environmental impact statement focused particularly on the village. Our actual concerns and fiscal impacts, all of those things that you as a member of the public, Tony as a member of the public, this board as a body in a 3-2 vote, minding, submitted to parks have been unaddressed. And so we don't have an opportunity again to go back over all the facts because they've not taken that comment period. We're saying, I think what is our strongest position right now with them is to demand the closer look of an SEIS.
I'm not suggesting that we go back and try and add new arguments. What I am saying, I believe, is that I think it would be helpful to articulate what we believe should be included in an SEIS.
But wouldn't that be, if we're saying that they didn't include anything, wouldn't that be everything that we included in our
Not
comments
necessarily,
originally?
no. It can be 5 important things like the Monroe balancing test, or I think there could be some clarity around what we feel was not addressed in the FGIS.
I mean, there are many things, like almost none of our comments.
Might not be my 5, might not be.
I don't think that's the point. I think the point is that the village has an opportunity to say as a body what it feels was lacking and should be included in an SEIS.
So Ronald's done that in a category way.
Yeah.
He's addressed traffic and emergency response. Oh, sorry. Where is it? There's a whole list of categories.
Character.
Yeah, and those are all the critical categories of seeker.
Yeah.
I think Matt Jackson has his hand up. Am I right?
Yes. Are you ready to hear from him?
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like his participation.
All right. Yeah, like I went through this last week. And I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I wanted the document in front of me. I wanted to look at it line for line, go through it with a highlighter. Couldn't do that. They did send me a digital copy of it. I haven't received it yet, but I did my best with what I have. And after reading through the emergency services and the traffic response, there's a lot in there that I think I'd rather not do it now. I think I need to talk to you guys and figure out what you want to do and how you want to address it first, because there's a lot of information that they got on their own, and there's also a lot of information that they got from us. And they used it in that document, and that's what the concerning part. I mean, it's a concern. The whole thing overall is a concern to me, but where and how they're getting their information is what I want to bring to your attention, so that way you can see where I'm coming from with this whole thing. So if you're going to discuss this further, there's some things that I want to point out to you in that document. If you choose to discuss this further, that I think will, shed some light on how to move forward with what you're trying to do right now.
So I just want to make clear that this is not the last communication that this board is going to have with Parks and HHFT about the proposal. What this is right now is a point in time recognizing that they refused to hold a public hearing, that we're unhappy with the results, and putting on the record our formal request for a specific supplemental environmental impact statement. This is not, we don't need to capture everything in this letter, but what we do need to get on the record in this letter is you refused to hold a public hearing, you didn't address our concerns, and we would like to see the next phase of seeker be specific. There right now, there is no next phase of seeker. We need to make the ask for there to be a supplemental. So I agree with you, Andrew, that I think that we should talk with John and see if it makes sense in this document to be referring to the Monroe Doctrine. We have an attorney-client session with him tomorrow to ask questions like that. We can certainly table this and get those questions addressed. Matt, I think that we need to work, all of us, the board and you need to work with the Bureau of Emergency Services, and with the Sheriff's Department and with the Protective Services Committee of the legislature on all of the things that you have raised. Matt joined a meeting last week with HHFT. All of the concerns that you have raised about response capacity, funding, etc. It's not going to happen in this letter. This is not the last communication.
I think we're okay with this letter. The lawyer reviewed it, right?
Yes.
So in legal speak, this is a good response in legal speak. Now, if they open it up again, then we can hit them with, what Matt comes up with the stuff Andrew was talking about and all the things that were never addressed. The question was this and our findings were, and don't worry about it. So I think it's a good start from a legal standpoint, but I'm not a lawyer.
But the lawyer has reviewed it.
Right.
Thoughts from other trustees?
I'm comfortable with how it is now, and I'm glad that we're doing it. I think it'd be useful to have an explanation of when an SEIS is warranted and what it is. But that might be more for like the public to understand.
So a great resource.
So it doesn't have to, I guess Nancy Stoner knows what that is.
Nancy Stoner knows what that is
Yeah.
for sure. But also a good resource for everyone to look at is the seeker handbook.
Yeah.
Do you have it with you there, Andrew?
Only an excerpt.
Do you have the
On a
portion on supplemental?
No.
Can you, when you pull it up, and it's a very short definition, we can bring it right into the record.
If someone, while I look for this, someone else has.
Yeah, in no way am I discounting what, Andrew had to say.
No.
There's a lot of other things that I would like to say too, but I think this gets it. I don't want to call it a shot across the bow, but it says, hey, guys.
Yeah, so I have it here, I can read it. A supplemental EIS provides an analysis of one or more significant adverse environmental impacts that were not addressed or were inadequately addressed in a draft or final EIS. May also be required to analyze the site-specific effects of an action previously discussed in a generic EIS. There we go. And then it says it may be required if a project sponsor proposes project changes that may result in one or more significant adverse environmental impacts not addressed in the original EIS. If the lead agency discovers new information not previously available concerning significant adverse impacts, or a change in circumstances arises that may result in adverse impact, or site-specific or project-specific analysis of potential significant adverse environmental impacts is needed for actions following a generic EIS.
So within the seeker structure, the next step is to push for an SEIS.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Does that not go at the lead agency's discretion?
It is at the lead agency's discretion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all at their discretion. That's why we're building the record.
But they could refuse.
Yes. But if we don't get in the record that we are acknowledging that we're not happy with it and it was insufficient and that we have asked for an SEIS, then we're in a weaker position later.
Yeah.
So, but I think all of the things you raised are valid. I do think the Monroe balancing test is worth talking about, but I'm not sure that it belongs here. I do want to talk more about it when we have our session.
Mhm.
So,
We need a motion to send this, or this is, we're gonna keep
Yeah.
this in draft for now.
I would like to vote on it as it is, based on this discussion. How do others feel?
I would like to do it.
I'm not in disagreement with the content
Mhm.
as it stands, but I also feel that I haven't had sufficient time to really review and understand what it is. Like, as I said, probably 2 hours before I came to the meeting, I read it. I feel it's a very important step that the village has taken, and I haven't had sufficient time to fully acquaint myself with the content of it and what my assessment of that would be.
Okay. You're prepared to vote?
I'm comfortable with a few little edits, but otherwise.
With a few little edits, yeah.
Does somebody want to introduce a motion?
Yes, we're about to do that.
Can I just ask if we're taking any public comments from the public, or if the public want to make any comments?
Matt, do you still have your hand up, or is that from before?
No, that was from before. I mean, as far as what you guys are doing right now, I mean, I have no say in it, but it's not what I have to say. It doesn't affect this document. It just
Right, yeah.
affects how we are going to address this as a whole, as a village. And I believe I did, now that I think about it, I believe I did send you an email when I went through it with the information
Yes.
that I found. And that's the stuff that I would like to discuss with you guys at another time. Nothing, it involves some of the stuff that you addressed here, but it's from my standpoint, it's separate.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you got it.
Andrew has asked if we're willing to hear from the public. I don't know if there are any members of the public who wish to make comment. First, let's see if the board's willing to take comment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So, right, we'll recognize folks in the room first.
Would you like me to come forward?
Whatever you're comfortable with, go ahead.
And if you'd like to state your name, if you'd like to.
Yeah, Peter Henderson. Yeah, I might be missing something here, but my understanding is that the lead agency published their findings last week. They made a positive finding statement. But every involved agency has to make their own finding statement as well. And the Village of Cold Spring is listed as an involved agency, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So, Laura, if you have the handbook open, if you scroll to page 146, it's all listed here. Who makes secret findings? All involved agencies must make findings. So have you been?
We made our findings on the draft.
No, you made comments on the draft. So last week, Parks published their finding statement, which was a 20-page document going through their assessment that the process had been conducted according to the SECA rules, and they had identified certain environmental impacts with mitigations. It's a big table. That's their finding statement, and every involved agency has to make a finding statement. So as an involved agency, I'm surprised that you haven't been contacted by the lead agency and informed of your obligation to produce a finding statement, because according to the handbook, you most certainly do have to. And it specifically says, may an involved agency rely on the lead agency to make the required findings? No, each involved agency is responsible for preparing its own findings. And can findings differ among involved agencies? And they say, absolutely, yes. And in the case that the lead agency makes a positive finding statement, which they did, if any involved agency makes a negative finding statement, then the process cannot continue until the conflict is resolved. And so that's point 9.
Who's the arbiter?
That's point 9. Well, the handbook doesn't address that, but
yeah.
But you'll see in point 9 that they do say the action cannot go forward unless the conflict is resolved. So the reason I came here tonight was to ask if you had been approached by the lead agency to prepare your finding statement.
No.
And then was to urge you, given that the stakes are so high for the village in terms of impact on community character, the impact of traffic and parking, since et cetera, since the stakes are so high, to urge you to please take all the time that you need to prepare a thorough finding statement. And I know that we're short-staffed and resources are hard to come by, but I would urge you to take as absolutely long as you need to prepare that finding statement. And there is, according to the handbook, there is no time limit, right? There is no time limit on that finding statement. But the process cannot go forward until all involved agencies have submitted their findings.
Mr. Henderson, can you name the handbook you're referring to?
Yes, this is it's called the Seeker Handbook. I'm quoting from the 4th edition, and it's published by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation.
And the statement was on page 140.
146.
That was compelling. I've been looking through trying to understand whether all of the, and thank you, by the way, whether the involved agencies are making a finding only on the portion that they are involved in, or whether it's a finding on everything. It would make sense if it were the first, but I don't actually see it specified either way. Let's do this. This is my suggestion.
John and Maura.
We're meeting with John tomorrow for a client session, attorney-client session anyway. Let's hold this. It may be, maybe incorporated into this is the village intends to, right? If that's really what we're supposed to do, and we need to confirm that it's what we're supposed to do. I mean, I'm hearing you read it, but I also take Laura's question. Maybe that statement gets included in this initial letter as well while we're developing the rest. So we will do our due diligence and make sure that we're following the path we should be. And I think that's sort of the discussion we can have tonight. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? You're on candid camera, Peter. All right. Thank you for that. Discussion and acceptance of proposal for village employee handbook update. This has been that's a thorn in our sides. The employee handbook has a number of problems. The last administration attempted to update it in 2018 and didn't finish. We took it on with the village council, the village, now they have a different name. They were CMR and now they are MRM. With their labor council, that did not work out well at all. We were spending countless hours with him writing dissertations on very simple topics. So we abandoned that work. Last year, we agreed to work with a consultant who would help prepare a draft. And the draft that was prepared was not specific to Cold Spring at all. It was very boilerplate and it didn't address any of the problems that we needed addressing in the handbook. So, look, do I feel great about this? No. But where we are, and now we have a new labor attorney who has been so concise and so directed in her advice, and she's so efficient. Rather than us spending our wheels putting drafts forward for her to review, etc., at this stage, my recommendation is you use some of that money that we've allocated for village improvement and pay her to get it done and make sure that we're in the right direction.
I would agree with that.
Anyone else have concerns?
Makes sense to me. Yeah.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion? Yeah, it is on the approving the proposal, accepting the proposal of, I'll say it and you can say so moved, how's that? Accepting the proposal of Thomas, Drowan, Waxman, Pettigrew, and Mail for their estimated work to review and revise the handbook, estimated at approximately 18 to 24 5 hours. Possibility of more or less time, and an estimated cost of 4,500 to 6,250. That's the motion. So moved. Is there a
Thank
second?
you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That's that. Bills. Who has the bills?
I make a motion,
Oh, no.
can we just read this?
Sure.
For payment of bills, voucher batch 8304 in the amount of $195,000. $195,476.79.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any minutes? I don't think so.
I didn't attach them.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Excuse me,
Oh, yes,
is there an opportunity for public comment?
there is not on this agenda. Unless the board would like to hear comment.
Comment on,
Comment on what?
I promise it's extremely short.
Is it a comment on on an agenda item?
No, it's not. It's about the marathon development.
Okay, that's going to be on upcoming agendas and we will welcome loads of comments then, but right now we're exhausted. God bless. Okay, so I'll make a motion to adjourn. So all in favor? Aye.
The practice of 60 foot. Agenda item.
Yep.